When you put God first in your day, everything changes. Not because problems disappear, but because the way you face them changes. Peace stops depending on what happens around you and begins to grow within you. You start walking with wisdom, with calm, with a strength that doesn't come from yourself but from the Spirit who guides you. And that's when your life truly begins to transform. Every time you wake up and give God the first moments of your morning, something is set in order, both in heaven and within you. It doesn't matter if yesterday was hard, if you're carrying sadness or exhaustion. When you decide to seek God before anything else, He takes control of your day and fills it with purpose, because whoever starts with God never walks alone. Many have forgotten that the secret to a blessed life isn't in chasing things, but in putting first the giver of all. Jesus Himself said, "Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." It's not just a symbolic phrase, it's an eternal promise. When God comes first, everything else falls into place. Maybe you feel lost, confused, or without direction. Perhaps you've tried to fix things on your own, and everything keeps repeating itself. But today, I want to invite you to stop, take a deep breath, and begin again. This time with God at the center of your morning. Because when He is your priority, chaos turns into calm and uncertainty into confidence. Before we continue, I want to invite you to like, comment, and share this video. It's not just a symbolic gesture, it's a way to help YouTube recommend this message to more people who need it. People who might be looking today for a word of encouragement or a moment of peace with God. Your support truly makes a difference, and by doing so, you become part of a blessing greater than you can imagine. Write this phrase in the comments to join spiritually with everyone watching this video. God is my priority. That small phrase can be the first step to publicly declare that your life begins with Him. Part 1. When God is your first thought of the day. When you open your eyes in the morning, the first thought that crosses your mind can set the direction of your entire day. If the first thing you do is worry about work, about debts, about what you lack, or what you haven't achieved yet, your spirit starts the day heavy, anxious, and emotionally drained. But when the first thing you do is think about God, something different happens inside you. Your mind quiets, your heart aligns, and your soul remembers who is in control. Putting God first isn't just a nice-sounding phrase, it's a decision that changes the course of your life. It's choosing, upon waking, not to run toward the world, but to run toward the Father. It's deciding that before opening social media, you'll open your heart, that before speaking to anyone, you'll speak with the one who holds the entire universe together. That small action has immense power because what you do in the first minutes of your day determines the spiritual frequency in which you'll walk for the rest of the day. The book of Psalms says in chapter 5, verse 3, "O Lord, in the morning you hear my voice. In the morning I prepare a sacrifice for you and watch." These words written by David are no coincidence. He knew that the key to his strength and wisdom came from that morning connection with God. It wasn't an empty ritual, it was an intimate encounter. Every morning, David presented himself before his Creator not to ask for things, but to align himself with His will. And that's exactly what you and I need each day, to align our hearts with God's before facing the world. Many people wonder why their lives feel aimless, why their days seem like a meaningless repetition. And the answer, in most cases, is simple, because they haven't learned to start their day with purpose. When the soul awakens without spiritual direction, it becomes a boat without a rudder, moved by the currents of anxiety, routine, and worry. But when you decide to put God at the center from the very beginning, He becomes your rudder, your guide, the compass that shows you where to go even when the path isn't clear. Imagine for a moment how your life would change if every morning, before checking your phone or thinking about your to-do list, you stopped for a few minutes just to give thanks. Simply that. To give thanks for being alive, for breathing, for having another day that God has given you. There is no force more transformative than gratitude, because when you give thanks, your mind connects with abundance rather than lack. You begin to see what you have, not what you're missing, and when you thank God as soon as you wake, you're telling Him through your actions, "I trust you. I recognize that this day is in your hands. The prophet Isaiah wrote, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you." What a powerful truth. It speaks of a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, but on the focus of the mind. If your thoughts remain on God, no storm can destroy you, no noise can steal your calm, no darkness can extinguish your faith. But if your mind fills with distractions and worries, everything around you starts to feel louder than God's voice within you. That's why, dear listener, starting your day with God isn't just a recommendation, it's a spiritual necessity. It's like laying the foundation before building a house. You can have great plans, clear goals, and plenty of motivation. But if your day doesn't start grounded in God's presence, sooner or later, your strength will run out. On the other hand, when you begin your day in communion with Him, no matter what you face, you'll have emotional stability, mental clarity, and inner peace. The enemy knows that if he can distract you early, he can weaken you for the rest of the day. That's why so often, right when you wake up, thoughts of fear, anxiety, or doubt arise. But that's where you must make a conscious choice. Instead of following that current, direct your mind toward prayer, toward the Word, toward God's presence. Don't let the world's noise be the first thing you hear each morning. Let it be the Creator's voice that guides your first steps. Remember, every morning is a divine gift. No 2 days are alike, and each sunrise is God's invitation to begin again. When you place your day in His hands from the start, what you're really doing is inviting Him to walk with you through every decision, every word, every thought. And God always responds to those who seek Him sincerely. Maybe you've tried countless ways to live a more peaceful, more organized, happier life. You've read books, watched videos, tried productivity or positivity methods, but nothing fills that emptiness you feel when you wake up. That happens because peace doesn't come from human strategies. It comes from God's presence. The soul only rests when it knows it's in safe hands. Starting your day with God is like turning on a lamp before entering a dark room. The room doesn't change, but the way you see it does. What once seemed uncertain now makes sense. What once was fear now becomes trust. What once was worry now becomes hope. And all of this happens because you decided to give first place to the one who gave you life. So when you open your eyes tomorrow morning, before getting out of bed, say in your heart, "Lord, thank you for this new day. Guide me, strengthen me, and show me your will." That simple prayer can completely change the atmosphere of your life. It's not magic, it's faith. It's beginning your day with the awareness that you don't walk alone, that there is a God who goes before you, straightening your path and preparing you for blessings you haven't yet seen. And if you ever wonder whether it's worth doing every day, remember this. David, Daniel, Jesus, all the great men of faith in the Bible had something in common. They began their day in communion with God. They didn't seek success, they sought direction. They didn't chase results, they sought obedience. And that's why they prospered in everything they did. Because when God comes first, everything else falls into place. Part 2. When you put God first, everything begins to align. There's a spiritual truth we often forget. Everything in life falls into place when the heart aligns with God. It's no coincidence that those who seek Him early, who pray before acting, who give thanks before asking, live with more peace even in difficulty. Because the order of the spiritual defines the order of the earthly. When God takes first place in your life, everything else begins to find its proper place. Jesus taught this clearly in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. "Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." This is one of the most powerful statements in the entire Bible, yet it often goes unnoticed. Jesus didn't say that material things or blessings weren't important. He simply revealed the right order to receive them. First the kingdom, then everything else. When you reverse that order, you spend your life chasing things that slip away. But when you keep it, blessings find you without you having to chase them. That's why putting God first every morning doesn't just improve your days, it transforms your entire life. Because the soul that seeks God at dawn finds direction, purpose, and clarity. What once was confusion becomes understanding. What once was fear turns into faith. What once was a burden becomes rest. But here's something important. Putting God first isn't an act of religiosity. It's a daily decision of the heart. It's not about following a routine, but about recognizing dependence. When you wake up and dedicate your first moments to Him, you're saying without words, "Lord, I can't do this without you. I don't have the strength, I don't have the wisdom, but I trust that you do." That spiritual humility opens doors that self-sufficiency closes. You may have noticed that when you start the day without praying or reflecting on the Word, everything seems to go wrong. Negative thoughts invade you, emotions overflow, words slip out without control, and decisions are made impulsively. But when you start the day with God, something changes even before you begin your tasks. Things might be the same, but you are not the same. The presence of God gives you a new perspective, an inner strength that the world can't offer. The psalmist wrote in chapter 37, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act." That promise goes deeper than it seems. It doesn't mean everything will go the way you want. It means that when you trust and put your path in God's hands, He ensures that things happen in the right way and at the right time. And that's one of the most beautiful fruits of putting Him first, learning to rest, not to force, and to wait with faith. Many people live frustrated because they try to control what cannot be controlled. They want immediate answers, visible results, quick solutions. But the spiritual life works differently. When you put God first, you might not see instant results, but you begin to experience peace. And that peace is the sign that something is happening, even if you don't understand it yet. God starts moving pieces, opening paths, closing doors that weren't meant for you, and preparing better ones. And all of that begins the moment you decide to give Him first place. Some people think seeking God is only necessary when things are bad, but true believers know that it's precisely when things are going well that we must seek Him most, to keep our direction and to prevent pride from clouding our gratitude. Because when the soul learns to depend on God even in abundance, it stays balanced. Putting God first also means learning to listen before speaking. In a world that teaches us to react quickly, God teaches us to pause. Before responding, pray. Before deciding, consult. Before moving, ask if it's the right moment. Many of our falls don't come from malice but from impatience. And when you learn to start your day seeking God's will, you develop something invaluable: spiritual discernment. Discernment is that sensitivity of the soul that lets you recognize when it's time to move forward and when it's time to wait. And it can only be cultivated in God's presence. Every morning that you put Him first, you strengthen that invisible connection that guides each step. Sometimes you won't hear a voice, but you'll feel peace or unease, and that's enough to know which way to go. Remember this: the world wants you to start your day worried, rushed, distracted, but God wants you to start it calm, focused, and thankful. Because a peaceful heart is more productive, wiser, and happier. It's not about how much you do in the day, but about who you walk with through it. If each morning you take a few minutes to be with God, you're feeding your spirit just as you feed your body with food. The difference is that the spiritual sustains everything else. A person without physical nourishment can survive a few days, but a person without spiritual nourishment loses meaning, hope, and direction. That's why putting God first isn't another task on your list. It's a way of life. The Apostle Paul said in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." This verse teaches us that anxiety dissolves the moment we speak with God. If each morning you learn to leave your burdens in His hands, your days will be lighter, your mind clearer, and your heart steadier. Dear listener, God doesn't look for perfection in you. He looks for priority. He doesn't expect long prayers or perfect words, only willingness. Just a few moments of sincere connection can change your entire day. It's not about how much you say, but how much you open your heart. God understands your silences, your tears, and your thoughts before you even express them. Every time you choose to seek God first, you're planting seeds in the soil of faith. And even if you don't see the fruits right away, be sure that the time of harvest will come. Life might not get easier, but you'll grow stronger, wiser, and steadier, because the one who rises with God rises with power. Part 3. When God guides your decisions, your destiny changes. When you put God first every morning, you're not just asking for blessing for your day, you're handing him the steering wheel of your life. You're telling the Creator of the universe to guide your steps, to enlighten your decisions, and to teach you to walk the right path even when you don't know where you're going. Because when God is your starting point, it doesn't matter how uncertain the road looks. You will always arrive at the destination he prepared for you. Many people wonder why their lives feel stuck, why doors don't open, or why they keep making the same mistakes over and over again. The answer often lies in one thing: they're not letting God lead their decisions. When the heart doesn't consult God, it acts on impulse, guided by temporary emotions or worldly advice, and that inevitably leads to frustration. But when the soul learns to stop, to pray, and to say, "Lord, show me your will," life begins to align with eternal purpose. The book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, teaches one of the deepest truths in all of Scripture. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. This passage reveals the secret of a life guided by divine wisdom. Trusting God doesn't mean surrendering to passivity. It means recognizing that our strength has limits, but his does not. When you learn to put God first, your decisions stop being solely yours and begin to be guided by an infinite mind. You may not understand why something doesn't happen as you expected, or why a door closes when you wanted it open, but in time you realize that God was protecting you from something you couldn't see. Sometimes the blessing is not in what God allows, but in what he prevents. And that's where the difference lies between a person who puts God first and one who doesn't. Those who live without spiritual connection grow anxious when the unexpected happens, get lost when plans change, and lose hope when delays come. But those who walk with God learn to trust, to wait, and to understand that everything happens in its perfect time. Because when the Lord guides your steps, even detours lead you to the right destination. Putting God first also transforms your relationships. When your heart is filled with his presence, you learn to love with wisdom, to forgive without pride, and to speak with compassion. Many relationships break because people act from ego, from wounds, from emotion. But when you begin your day with God, he gives you self-control, patience, discernment, and peace. You no longer react the same way. You no longer respond with anger. You no longer carry resentment, because your mind is tuned to a higher frequency. Jesus said in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 5, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing." This is one of the most powerful statements of faith. To abide in God means to stay connected with him at all times, not only in morning prayer, but in every thought, every conversation, every choice. Because those who put God first don't seek him only in times of need. They recognize him as their constant source of life. Think for a moment about how many decisions you've made in the past without consulting God. Maybe you entered the wrong relationship, accepted opportunities that pulled you away from your purpose, or took paths that looked good but drained your soul. We've all been there. But the good news is that God doesn't condemn you for past mistakes. He teaches you not to repeat them. If today you decide to put him first, he can straighten what was crooked, restore what was broken, and give you a new beginning. Because when God becomes the center of your life, he not only transforms your present, he redeems your past. Everything you've lived through, even the painful parts, begins to take on deeper meaning. You realize that nothing was in vain. Every fall taught you something, every loss brought you closer to him, and every silence carried a purpose. That's how God works. He turns wounds into wisdom, trials into growth, and tears into spiritual strength. People often think putting God first means giving everything up. But in truth, it means doing everything with him. It means working, studying, loving, serving, and moving forward under his direction. God doesn't ask you to stop living. He asks you to live with purpose. And when you do, everything you undertake carries his blessing. Where his presence dwells, there is order, direction, and prosperity. Sometimes God will ask you to make hard decisions, to let go of something that hurts, to close a chapter, to forgive someone, or to wait when you want to rush ahead. But if you put Him first, you'll understand that every step of obedience opens doors of favor. Nothing done in His will is ever wasted. What you surrender in faith returns multiplied. What you entrust to His care remains secure. The Apostle Paul wrote in Romans chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good." Notice that it doesn't say some things, it says all things. That means even what you don't understand now will one day become part of your testimony. What hurts today will become tomorrow's lesson. What looks like an ending today will become the beginning of something greater. And it all starts with one simple decision: putting God first. Dear listener, God doesn't just want to give you better days. He wants to give you a life with purpose. He wants you to walk with confidence, knowing that every decision made under His guidance draws you closer to your eternal destiny. But for that, you must start each morning with Him, surrendering your thoughts, your plans, and your fears. Because when He is first, everything else falls into place. And if you ever wonder whether it's worth all the effort, remember this: obedience opens more doors than ambition. Decisions guided by God may seem slow, but they never fail. The world will tell you to rush, but God will tell you to trust. The world will push you to act out of fear, but God will teach you to move in faith. And faith, even when it seems small, can change the entire course of your life. So each morning when you wake up, don't think only about what you're going to do. Think about who you're going to walk with. Before making a decision, ask God if it's the right time. Before responding out of emotion, seek His wisdom. Before giving up, remember that He's still working, even in silence. Because those who put God first don't walk blindly, they walk with direction. And those who trust His guidance can cross any desert, knowing that at the end, there is a promise. Part 4. When God rules your thoughts, nothing can steal your peace. There's a battle that begins every morning, and it's not outside, it's inside you. It's the battle between faith and fear, between trust and anxiety, between calm and chaos. That battle starts the moment you open your eyes, and most of the time it's won or lost in the first few minutes of the day. That's why it's so important to put God first. Because when He governs your thoughts, your emotions come into order, and your mind finds rest. The Apostle Paul expressed this with immense wisdom in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if there is any excellence, if anything is worthy of praise, think about these things. Paul was revealing a spiritual truth that is just as necessary today as it was then. What fills your mind determines the direction of your life. If your thoughts are filled with worry, your day will feel heavy. But if your thoughts are centered on God, on His goodness and His faithfulness, then nothing can bring you down, even if the world around you shakes. Putting God first isn't just a religious act, it's mental training. It's learning to discipline your mind so that it obeys your faith instead of your fears. Each morning, when you decide to pray, reflect on Scripture, or simply give thanks, you're training your mind to focus on the eternal, not the temporary. You're filling your inner world with light before stepping into a world that constantly tries to dim it. Jesus said in the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." The peace Jesus speaks of doesn't depend on things being right around you. It depends on being right with Him. It's a peace that can't be bought, produced, or found anywhere except in the presence of God. When you put God first, His peace becomes your shield. The storms will still come, but they won't carry you away. Imagine your mind as a garden. If each morning you plant thoughts of faith, gratitude, and trust, soon you'll see flowers of hope growing there. But if you fill it with worry, anger, or doubt, you'll harvest only exhaustion and sadness. Putting God first is watering the garden of your mind with His Word. It's being careful about what you allow through your eyes and ears, and consciously choosing where you focus your energy. The enemy knows that if he can disturb your thoughts, he can steal your peace. That's why he tries to distract you early in the day by making you wake up to bad news, memories that hurt, or fears of what might come. But when you choose instead to start your morning with God, everything changes. His word becomes a wall protecting your mind from confusion. When your mind is filled with truth, the enemy has no space for lies. In Isaiah chapter 26 verse 3 it is written, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast, because they trust in you." That's both a promise and a strategy. If your thoughts persevere in God, if you keep remembering Him throughout the day, if every time anxiety knocks you look upward again, then peace will follow you wherever you go. When God occupies first place in your thoughts, He begins to govern your emotions as well. You stop reacting impulsively because the Holy Spirit gives you self-control. You no longer get angry over everything. You no longer feel overwhelmed by small things. You no longer sink under adversity because your soul learns to rest in the One who reigns above all. That's spiritual maturity, feeling the storm, but staying calm because you know who's in the boat. Jesus slept through the storm while His disciples panicked. They saw danger. He saw purpose. They felt fear. He had faith. That's the difference between someone who starts the day with God and someone who doesn't. The one who prays trusts, the one who trusts rests, and the one who rests sees miracles where others see only problems. Each morning, by putting God first, you're building a refuge within yourself, a place you can return to throughout the day when things get hard. It doesn't matter if you're at work, in school, at home, or in the middle of a problem, that inner peace becomes your secret strength. No one can take it from you because it comes straight from heaven. And here's something you must remember. You don't need perfect faith to experience that peace. You just need a willing heart. God doesn't expect you to be strong all the time. He just asks you to come to Him. True strength isn't about never falling. It's about knowing who lifts you up. And every time you put Him first, your soul grows stronger. The problem is that many people seek peace without seeking God. They want calm without prayer, balance without faith, rest without surrender. But God's peace cannot be found apart from Him. It's found only in His presence. And that presence manifests when you invite Him in from the very start. Every morning is a new opportunity to empty your mind of negativity and fill it with promises. If you make that a daily habit, you'll notice how the worries that once kept you awake no longer have power over you. Not because they've disappeared, but because you've learned to place them in the hands of the One who can handle them all. Psalm 55 verse 22 says, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken." What a beautiful guarantee. Every time you place your burdens in God's hands, He holds you up. He may not remove the weight, but He gives you strength to carry it. He may not take away the trials, but He teaches you how to overcome them through faith. That's true transformation. When you stop asking God to change everything around you and start asking Him to change your heart. That's how putting God first changes your life, from the inside out. It doesn't begin with what you see, but with what you feel. It doesn't start with what you have, but with what you believe. God transforms the mind first, then the emotions, and finally the circumstances, because everything visible begins in the invisible. And when the invisible is filled with His presence, the visible begins to align. Dear listener, never underestimate the power of a morning given to God. That daily practice, though it may seem small, can build an entirely new life. Every day you choose to start with Him, you prepare the ground for a day of purpose, victory, and peace. It's not just a habit, it's an act of faith. And faith, even the size of a mustard seed, can move mountains. Part 5. When God comes first, blessings begin to manifest. Putting God first doesn't only change the way you think or the peace in your heart, it also changes what happens around you. Because when heaven aligns with your soul, doors that once seemed closed begin to open. What once looked impossible starts to move in your favor. And not because everything becomes perfect, but because everything begins to have purpose. God doesn't remove difficulties, He transforms them into opportunities for faith. We often think blessings are only material things, but when you put God first, you discover that the greatest blessing is not what you receive, but what you become. You grow wiser, more patient, stronger, more sensitive to the voice of the Spirit. And that inner transformation makes the outer world begin to shift as well. The things that once made you anxious now teach you lessons. What once hurt you now strengthens you. What once seemed like loss now looks like preparation. Psalm 37 verse 4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." That's an immense promise, but also a profound teaching. It doesn't mean God will give you everything you ask for. It means that when you delight in Him, your heart begins to ask for the right things. Your desires are purified, your motives align with His will, and blessings arrive without resistance because you're no longer asking from ego but from purpose. When you put God first, things start to flow. There are decisions that once brought you fear that now you make with peace. There are doors that close and you no longer see them as punishment but as redirection. There are paths that once looked uncertain that now are full of signs, because those who walk with God don't need to see the whole map. It's enough to trust the one who holds the path. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, speaks of the blessings of obedience. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all His commands, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations on earth. All these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you obey the Lord your God. That word, overtake, carries special power. It doesn't say you'll have to chase blessings, it says they'll chase you. It means that when you walk in obedience and communion, blessings pursue you. You don't need to force them, you only need to stay in the right place, under God's direction. But we must understand something. Putting God first doesn't mean you'll never face trials. In fact, many times the moment you decide to do so, the tests increase. Not because God has abandoned you, but because He's strengthening your faith. The enemy knows that if he can distract you, he can pull you away from your purpose. That's why he tries to make you tired, doubtful, or think it's not worth it. But that's when you need to stand firm, because the greatest miracles are born in the moments when you see nothing yet still believe. God never promised a life without challenges, He promised a life with His presence, and that changes everything. When He is with you, even pain makes sense, because you know that every tear is a seed, and everything you sow in faith will one day bloom. The problem is that many people seek blessings without seeking God. They want results without relationship, miracles without commitment. But true blessings don't come by coincidence, they come by connection. When you put God first, you don't have to beg for what already belongs to you. You are a child, and children don't beg, they inherit. Jesus said in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 7 verse 11, "If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask Him?" That promise is the essence of divine love. God is not a harsh judge who punishes, He is a loving Father who provides, protects, and blesses. But like any good father, He gives when He knows you're ready to receive. And that maturity comes only when you put Him first. Putting God first also transforms your relationship with time. You begin to understand that delays are not denials, they are preparations. That God's silences are not absences, they are lessons. And that when He seems to take His time, it's not because He has forgotten you, but because He's arranging something greater than what you asked for. You learn to live with confidence, knowing that if something hasn't happened yet, it's because it's not the perfect moment. Dear listener, when you put God first, His favor follows you, even in the things you least expect. You'll see it in small moments, an unexpected opportunity, a person who shows up at the right time, a door that opens just when you were about to give up. Because God's favor is not coincidence, it's the result of faith. Putting God first doesn't take you away from your dreams, it brings you closer to the right ones. It removes what wasn't meant for you to make space for what was. It prepares you in silence for things you don't yet understand. And even when you can't see it, God is always working. He doesn't improvise, He orders. He doesn't rush, but He's never late. He arrives exactly when your heart is ready to receive. That's why every morning, remember this: what you do in the first minutes of your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you start with fear, you'll walk in doubt. But if you start with faith, you'll walk in hope. If you begin with complaint, you'll carry more weight. But if you begin with gratitude, you'll open heaven over your life. God doesn't need much time to transform your day, He just needs first place. Sometimes it's enough to close your eyes and say, Lord, take control of this day. Guide me, protect me, and use me. That simple prayer holds power because it doesn't depend on your words but on your surrender. And when you put God first, don't be surprised if things start moving in your favor. Not because everything changes magically, but because you have changed. Your mind, your heart, and your decisions will be in sync with heaven, and that inevitably shows on earth. That's how God works. He begins in the invisible and then manifests in the visible. He touches your inner being first and then transforms your surroundings. He plants seeds in your soul first and then makes your path bloom. So don't worry if the results don't appear immediately. God never forgets those who put Him first.